Hey there, it is Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you from, this time, Best of Redditor Updates. Hell yeah. And it is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Telling My Sister That She Shouldn't Overvalue Herself and Prepare for the Worst? Originally posted April 6th, 2024. I, 21 female, have an older sister, Eve, 29 female, who had her first child, Lori, 1 female. And while this should be a time of joy and excitement, there's actually a lot of tension and brewing resentment between her, our mom, and her husband, Jack, 29 male. Despite it being unplanned, Eve's pregnancy was wanted and Jack was an involved partner. He went to most of Eve's appointments, took the birthing classes, and supported Eve's decision to just have our mom in the room while he waited outside when she gave birth. The plan was for our mom to be by Eve's side in the room and to help stay for a week after Lori was born. Everyone was cool with this, but unfortunately our aunt got into some drama with her husband in another state and mom rushed over to be at her sister's side. Eve was already in her 3rd trimester, so Jack didn't like the idea of our mom going and voiced it. Our mom tore Jack a new one and Eve even got on his case about it, so he apologized. However, Eve ended up going into labor and Jack ultimately was the one in the room while our mom was away. When she called, our mom expressed being sad over not being there for the birth of her first grandchild, and she and Eve decided that no one else in the family would see Lori until she got back, without discussing it with Jack. He was understandably not happy as his mom lived about 45 minutes away and was looking forward to meeting Lori too as she was the first grandchild on both sides. Eve pulled the "I just gave birth" card and Jack reluctantly allowed it. On the day that our mom was supposed to come back, she missed her flight and couldn't get a new one until the following morning. Our mom could have just rented a car, but she didn't want to spend the money since the airline wouldn't refund the money. Jack brought up allowing his mom to come again, but Eve refused, citing that he had already agreed. Unfortunately, Jack's mom was in a car accident and passed before ever getting to meet Lori, since Eve wouldn't even allow a video chat. What the f*** is happening? Jack was distraught. He moved to the guest bedroom, went to the funeral alone, and refuses to engage with Eve at all. Jack's side of the family keeps calling and messaging Eve to tell her what a selfish and awful person she is, and Jack refuses to defend. Eventually, Eve got sick of it and packed up and left to her mom's house to teach Jack a lesson, but he hasn't texted or called. Our mom thinks that he just needs some space and that he'll call soon, but I just laughed at that. Didn't mean to, though. My mom and Eve asked me why I laughed, and I tried to brush it off or even leave, but they wouldn't let me and pressed for an answer. Eventually, I told her that while the accident wasn't her fault, she did keep Lori away from Jack's mom meeting her for a week, and now she never will. There's no way Jack is ever going to love you enough to forgive that, and that you should prepare for the worst. Eve started to bawl her eyes out while mom berated me, so I left. Am I the astronaut? We were wrong. Edit, just to clarify, because I keep seeing this when the accident first happened, Eve has apologized 3 separate times. Jack has admitted to this, and Eve intended to go to the funeral with him, but he drove off without her. Jack does interact with Lori. It's Eve that he's icing out, and my niece is the only thing he's willing to talk to Eve about. Jack had been living in the guest room for 5 months before Eve left. She's offered to go to couples counseling, but Jack has refused. Relevant comments here. What's up with your aunt? Or what was up with your aunt? Original OP, to be fair, it wasn't a small thing. My aunt's husband was revealed to be cheating and used her personal information to take out credit cards in her name to pay for his side piece. Classic. Plus the potential danger of her own health. Commenter downvoted, YTA. You are completely right, but you're an asshole to mention it. Why rub it in and cause drama? You should have kept silent, and staying out of it would have been the reasonable option. They needed someone to blame. Why offer yourself up for that? I can understand this. I can understand the sentiment behind this statement. However, I think someone in your world needs to be a reality check for you, a gut check. And OP, if you're willing to take up that mantle and to receive the eye of Sauron for speaking up, then by all means. Original OP responds, I tried to brush it off and walk away, but they physically stood in front of my way and demanded an answer. And then you're like, damn, if I could just keep that chuckle inside. Commenter, if she's still bad-mouthing him, she obviously didn't mean it, the apology, with an understanding of what exactly she did wrong. Hope Jake is well supported by his family and can see his daughter soon. Original OP's response, Eve hasn't bad-mouthed him, at least to me, since his mom's accident, but she is frustrated that he's no longer affectionate and doesn't engage with her like before. Frustrated because she doesn't understand? Commenter downvoted. YTA, sorry, but are you married? A parent? In love? In a relationship? No? Then maybe put a cork in it. Why would you say something like that? It was incredibly vindictive and nasty. She is a new mother going through ish, and you could have been compassionate, even civil. You laughing at someone's misfortunes, much less your sister, says a lot about your character. Her husband may never forgive her, but that's not on her. To be honest, it would be hard to forgive you for kicking her when she was down, so there's that. Original OP's response, married? No. Parent? No. In love? Yeah. Relationship? Also, yeah. And please read the post again. Lori is now a year old, and Jack's mom died when she was less than 3 weeks old. This had been an ongoing issue with months, and I tried not to say anything and even walk away in order to be civil, but my mom and sister kept pressing me for an answer. Commenter, part of a longer comment, why didn't Jack just let his mother come anyway? I'm amazed he put up with all that bullshit, but it sounds like a treasure of a husband, and Eve really screwed herself by treating him and his family like that. Original OP's response, because it was just supposed to be 1 week. No one saw this accident coming, and Jack didn't want to stress out my sister, who had just given birth. He was trying to respect her wishes and got screwed over because of it. Commenter, the fact that your sister wouldn't even allow a FaceTime, that's some pretty ridiculous, petty bullshit. She deserves to be a struggling single mom for that choice. I wouldn't blame Jack for being the type of co-parent who will only co-parent through a phone app, JFC. OP's response, yeah, I think her being pregnant made her lose touch with reality and logic a little bit. She's usually understanding and reasonable. Eve's apologies, mom's apologies. Original OP, from what she told me, it was I'm sorry I did X the first time. And then, I'm sorry, but I didn't know that Y would happen. And then, I'm sorry, but we can. OP, my mom did reach out to give her condolences for Jack's mom's passing, but I don't know if she apologized for insisting on being the first grandparent to see the baby. Also, I know that Eve apologized at least 3 separate times, but it could have been more. I honestly don't know. Holy God, there's an update. There's an update. Hubby here played along to not freaking make waves, right? But it was absolute bullshit what his wife and her mother conspired to do here. It's not just her child, but she behaved like it is just her child, right? Like, no doubt inspired by mommy. Mommy Dearest here ran the show. If you have shit that you have to leave for, you no longer get to make the call. And probably she shouldn't have been able to make the call anyway. It's not mom's call. It should be the two of them together. You know, the partners that created this baby. But no, wifey put herself in this mess. And I wouldn't feel bad if that were my sibling, calling them to the carpet on it. Yeah, it sucks to be exposed for doing stupid shit. When people get exposed, they get pissed off. Sometimes they need to get exposed to understand how bad they screwed up. Here is the update, posted June 2nd, 2024, almost 2 months later. Hey, it's been a couple of weeks, and due to people still occasionally asking, I thought I'd give some quick updates to the situation. Here are the basic bullet points. My sister has now been officially diagnosed with postpartum depression, and that is the trump card or Hail Mary of the situation. My sister and her husband are living together again and in couples therapy. My sister is in individual counseling. My niece has now been officially introduced to a few members of her paternal side, and they all love her. Jack's family have ceased their negative comments about my sister, but she says that they're still pretty formal and distant towards her. I honestly don't know if she'll ever be in their good graces again, and will only put up with her for my brother-in-law and niece's sake. My niece's name, first and middle, is going to be legally changed to whatever Jack wants. For the next 5 years, whoa, hold up. What was it? For the next 5 years, brother-in-law's side of the family is getting priority when it comes to any and all holidays. My mom will be on a strict info diet when it comes to the baby. No pictures unless Jack approves. This is all I know for right now, and my mom is not happy with any of this and is calling Jack a controlling asshole. It's like looking in a mirror. But my sister is holding firm in an effort to save her marriage. She claims that brother-in-law and she are making progress in counseling, and I hope for her sake that it's true. It's gonna suck not being able to see my niece as much as I wanted for the next possible few years, but compared to never being able to see her at all, like Jack's mom, it is what it is. I know a lot of you may not be happy with this update, but it is what it is for now. Relevant comments, original OP's thoughts. I won't deny that Jack is taking full advantage of Eve's willingness to do whatever it takes to save the marriage, but Jack has never come off as a controlling person in the past. I mean, he didn't put up any opposition to Eve's requests or demands since finding out that she was pregnant. But Eve has a support system if she feels like it's getting to be too much. I'm not going to get involved until I suspect violence. To a different commenter, I won't deny that Jack is taking advantage of the situation. He's hurt and angry and very resentful. He laid out his terms and Eve is agreeing to them. Plus, they're in counseling. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. Another commenter here, it doesn't read to me that OP is being restricted. OP is free to visit their niece. Jack's family just gets priority for holidays, and it seems like OP's family assumed that they would get majority of them, hence won't see kid as often as I'd like to. Original OP's response, yes, it's just the holidays for our side of the family. Right now, I could drive up to see my niece so long as I call first. Commenter, what's the issue with the baby's name? Was Jack railroaded over that as well? Hey, we get to find out. Original OP, from my understanding, Eve got pick of the first name, and Jack got to pick the middle name from a list of names that Eve had, and my niece took Jack's surname. To a different commenter, to appease Jack, he didn't really get much of a say over naming the baby. My sister really played the whole "I'm the one carrying the baby" card. Commenter, I don't get why your contact with your niece has to be limited. I'm not sure the marriage will last anyway with these conditions. OP, right now it seems like Eve is just doing whatever it takes, whatever she has to do to keep Jack from leaving her, as well as getting back on Jack's family's good side. Commenter, I don't know how to feel about this. Changing the baby's name after a year to whatever the husband wants. Priority for holidays for 5 years. No pictures for your mom unless Jack approves of it. This seems like jumping from the frying pan directly into the fire. If these are the terms set up by Jack in order to save the marriage, 1, I doubt the marriage counselor knows about these specific ones I mentioned, and 2, is it even worth saving? Your sister has no autonomy over their child, no autonomy over her schedule, no ability to share a photo with her mother. You have limited contact with your niece. Who really won here other than Jack and his family, who might someday be nice to your sister? You think Jack's family won? Yes, your sister was wrong in the original post. Of course she was, but not one thing on this list can change what happened. Not one. And this part of the list sounds like they could lead up to some DV situations in the future on Jack's part. Isolation from support systems is one of those factors. I don't think it's isolation from support systems, but I see the point here. It could be a step in a direction that could potentially lead to that. I don't get the vibe from it right now, but that doesn't matter. Original OP, Jack's mom suddenly passed away and she was a loving and sweet person. I wouldn't exactly call it a win. Also, from what Eve has told me, it's not isolation so much as strict boundaries. Eve said that these restrictions were only for the baby and that she's still able to have regular contact with whoever she wants. How I hope this would play out in a therapy session would be a, party, antagonist party, whatever you refer to there. But in this case, it would be OP's sister. So mama, what would you be willing to do to try to make amends for this? And I would hope that these things that are happening are things that she offered up, not things he asked for. I would hope so. I would, if these are things that he is asking for and enforcing, maybe it's a pendulum swing too far in the opposite direction. If these are things that she came up with as I would be willing to do this to make up for this, then that's a different story, right? Dr. Sweets, again, it sounds like these conditions, is to build trust. I don't think Jack will keep them long term. I would agree. I'm hoping that she came up with these though. Commenter. Yikes! What a hard overcorrection. I can't imagine them ever getting back on the right footing again after this. Eve will lose herself with guilt and trying to keep the family together, and Jack will lose himself in trying to forgive, but also punish Eve for what he lost. At that point, it's not two people in love. It's just two people filled with resentment and trying to make it work. Unless she came up with these behavior changes. Unless this was her idea. That does change it, does it not? OP's response, they're going to couples counseling is all I can respond with. We'll see what happens. Commenter, OP sounds disgusting too. Calling PPD a card sister will play. Shame on you, OP. Original OP response here, I refer to it as a card because of how my sister is using her diagnosis with Jack. She literally said, he can't be angry with me, I have PPD. In response to someone asking if she really has it, no, it's real, and I do believe her because her personality did change the further she got into her pregnancy. It's just the way with my sister is using her diagnosis that made me word it the way that I did. She's he can't stay angry with me when I have PPD, and he has to forgive me, I'm not mentally well. Commenter, is the postpartum diagnosis what made him be willing to work it out? Not sure how that was connected to what she did. OP, I mean, he wasn't open to couples counseling before the official diagnosis. Okay. So there's like a potential reason for it, and then he started moving that direction. I think this all comes down to, like, is it an overcorrection? Probably, unless she came up with this. I mean, this is a shitty situation, that's for damn sure. The only thing that I can hope here are that these are conditions she came up with. in an effort to move in the right direction or to make amends. And he accepted. Is he wrong for accepting? Maybe. But I hope they work these out in therapy together. I hope they mutually agreed upon them. And I would hope that in this situation that the question was asked of her to come up with something she would be willing to do instead of asking someone what you would force the other person to do to get back in your good graces. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's wild. It's not. So the question was, am I the astronaut for telling my sister that she shouldn't overvalue herself and prepare for the worst, which was way back before like the current news that we're getting and all of this. And no, she wasn't the asshole for that. And maybe it was that comment that led to her willingness to come up with things that she would be able to do to work in that direction. And maybe they agreed on them. Maybe she presented them and they agreed upon them in counseling, which would be great. It still might be going too far, but I hope, like Dr. Sweet said, I hope this isn't going to be something that's upheld very long. The fact that she's willing to do it and like moves forward with it is a huge show of trust. And that would be an immediate kind of relaxing on there. And you also have to remember here that mother-in-law, the one who's still living, is a controlling manipulator. So it's not just about not sending pictures there. It's also about like hedging against manipulation. Goodness.